Okay, let's get into this. So you sent us a source. It's a review from Wineful Living, and they're looking at the Saldo White Zinfandel 2023.
Right.
And you shared this because, well, you're curious. You know White Zinfandel. It definitely has a reputation, maybe some past experiences that weren't great.
Yeah. A bit of baggage, you could say.
Exactly. So you want to know if this review suggests this specific bottle is actually different, if it, breaks that mold.
That's the plan. We're diving into this one review to see what they found, and if this Saldo really is something more than, well, the usual sugary stuff.
Okay. Let's use this review as our guide then. And what's helpful is the reviewer starts off admitting they had some hopeful skepticism.
Which makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
Given the history.
Yeah.
The review mentions that white Zin can often be either just way too sweet or honestly pretty boring.
That starting point really sets the stage for how much the Saldo must have, well, surprised them.
It seems so, because right away, even just looking at it,
Yeah.
the visual, they call it a gorgeous blush pink, Instagram worthy.
So it looks nice immediately. A different vibe from the start.
And then the smell. This is where it apparently gets interesting. Not that like artificial candy smell you might expect.
No. What did they find?
Something more nuanced and grown up. The review suggests it feels kind of confident in what it is instead of, trying too hard. That's apparently what makes it stand out now.
Okay, now for the really key part, the taste. The review basically says, look, this is not your mom's overly sweet white Zin from the 90s. It calls it distinctly modern.
That's the main takeaway, really. They describe the aroma as fresh, like actually fresh. Bright grapefruit peel, wild strawberries, some subtle floral things made them think of spring.
So natural fruit, not fakey.
Yeah, clean fruit character seems to be the idea. And then tasting it, tart raspberry, pink grapefruit right away, and then a touch of watermelon rind, adding a bit of complexity.
Okay, that already sounds way different from the stereotype.
Definitely. But what seemed to really grab the reviewer was this gentle, peppery finish. It apparently lingers a bit.
Peppery in a white Zin.
Yeah, subtle, but there they highlight it as a key thing that makes it different, makes you want another sip.
Interesting. And the review also points out what it doesn't have.
Right. No heavy oak, no intense minerality.
Yeah.
It's just comfortable being what it is, it seems, embracing its own style.
Okay, so what about the body, the feel of it?
It's described as sitting between light and medium. So it has some presence, but it's not heavy. And importantly, the finish is crisp and surprisingly dry.
Dry is the key word there, I guess.
Totally. That seems to be a big part of what challenges that old white Zin image, according to this review.
So, putting it all together, the final verdict, what score did they land on?
A solid 7.4 out of 10.
Okay, 7.4. And how did they justify that? The pros?
Well, the pros listed were that great color, the fact it's not super sweet, the crisp fruit, that little spicy finish, and also a pretty good price for the quality they saw.
Makes sense. And the cons? What were the downsides, according to the reviewer?
They mentioned it doesn't have, huge complexity for someone who's really into intricate wines. It might also let down someone who actually wants that traditional sweet style.
Ah,
And the lighter body means maybe it's not the perfect pairing for, say, a really heavy, rich meal.
Gotcha. But overall?
Overall, they called it surprisingly versatile and said it definitely has character. So that 7.4 feels like it reflects a wine that's really good at being approachable, but still interesting,
Yeah, elevated casual. And apparently this wasn't just the reviewer's opinion in isolation.
No, they mentioned checking around, talking to friends, and finding a consistent theme. People are pleasantly surprised. The main comment seems to be that it defies the white Zinfandel stereotype.
Any specific feedback they shared?
Yeah, someone apparently called it super fresh and easy to sip perfect poolside wine. That peppery finish got mentioned again by others. And it even surprised some friends who normally just stick to big, bold reds.
Huh. So it seems to be hitting a chord.
It seems like it. And the reviewer connects this to a bigger idea that maybe this wine shows how white Zinfandel as a category is evolving.
Evolving how?
For a generation, maybe, that wants wines that are easy to drink but not, basic or cloyingly sweet. Approachable, but with a little something extra.
And they mention where it comes from, right? That gives some context.
Yes, the Prisoner Wine Company. The reviewer notes they're kind of known for taking traditional grapes and putting their own spin on them, doing unexpected things.
Ah, so that pedigree might explain why this Saldo is different.
Could be part of it, yeah. Gives it a distinct identity.
Okay, let's talk pairings. The review mentioned a specific one that worked really well.
Yes. They tried it with that viral TikTok feta pasta. You know the one, baked feta tomatoes?
Oh, yeah, I know it. And it worked.
Apparently, it was a surprisingly perfect match. And they explained why it worked based on, food and wine basics. The wine's acidity cut through the richness of the cheese and the sauce, while the fruit notes went well with the tomatoes. So it wasn't just luck, there was a logic to it.
Makes sense. So based on that, what else did they recommend pairing it with?
A whole list really showing off that versatility they talked about. Things like grilled shrimp tacos, especially with mango salsa, spicy Thai salads.
Oh, the sweetness balancing the heat?
Exactly. Sushi, sashimi, Mediterranean meze platters, summer salads with berries and goat cheese, that kind of thing.
Nice range. And casual stuff, too.
Yeah, they mentioned salty kettle chips, lightly spiced popcorn, cheese boards. Basically good for informal get-togethers with lots of different snacks.
Okay, one really practical tip they included was about temperature, right? That seems important.
Crucial, according to the review. Serve it properly chilled. They specified between 40 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit.
And the logic behind that.
Well, the advice is pull it from the fridge maybe 10 minutes before pouring. Too warm, and you lose that crispness they liked so much.
Right.
But too cold, and you mute those subtler notes, the strawberry, that peppery finish. So finding that sweet spot, temperature-wise, is key to getting the experience the reviewer described.
Good tip. So wrapping it up a bit, what about the value? Is it worth the price?
In the 2025 market, the reviewer feels it's at a reasonable price point for what you're getting.
Which isn't just a basic wine.
Exactly. They frame it as thoughtfully crafted, something that intentionally breaks from the old style and tries to elevate the grape. You're paying for that craft, that different approach, especially coming from a producer like Prisoner.
So maybe not for a huge, fancy celebration dinner.
Probably not if you need layers and layers of complexity. But for casual dinners, hanging out by the pool, a weeknight glass, the review presents it as a really solid, interesting choice for those times.
Makes sense. They even suggested it as a gift.
Yeah, specifically for friends who think they hate White Zinfandel. The reviewer seems pretty confident this one could change their minds.
Bold claim. So the final takeaway from the reviewer is
Pretty positive for its niche. They feel this Saldo definitely earns its place for casual sipping, poolside, brunch, that sort of thing.
because of that modern style. Yeah.
Exactly. That modern dry approach makes it relevant now. It's easy drinking, sure, but that dryness and the hint of spice give it a touch of sophistication that, the old stuff often lacked.
So their final word is basically, if you want a good white Zin today and you're trying to avoid those super sweet versions from the past.
This Saldo is the one to try, according to this review. They call it a thoughtful reimagining of what White Zinfandel can be.
And the bottom line, would they buy it again?
Yes, definitely. Specifically for those casual, relaxed times. Backyard BBQs, picnics. It's positioned as perfect for that.
Okay. So pulling back from this specific review, it really does paint a picture of the Saldo White Zinfandel 2023 as something quite different. Modern, drier, more complex than the stereotype, versatile for casual drinking, and yeah, something that challenges what you might expect from White Zin.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Based on this one perspective anyway. How often do our past experiences with the whole category, wine, food, maybe even ideas, make us just dismiss it? We write it off without considering, how it might have changed or how someone might have reimagined it completely.